This is a KOERTACOO NP-F battery plate, and it's designed specifically for powering Blackmagic pocket cinema cameras. I was sent this to review for free. If you wanted to purchase one, it would cost you about $42. They haven't paid me for my review, and my opinions remain my own. In the box, you get the camera plate itself, along with a little bit of wire management Velcro, and two cables here, as well as this little guy here. So this guy here is a cold shoe attachment point where you could put this into the cold shoe of a camera and then have a 1/4x20 screw. So it has a 1/4x20 stud in there, so you could mount it on anything like a tripod or whatever. It also has the 1/4x20 screw, so you can screw it into a camera cage or anything with the stud. So not counting any cables, just the battery adapter plate is 74 grams, or 2.61 ounces. So output-wise, it has an 8-volt output, a second 8-volt output, and a 12-volt output, as well as this USB and its 18-watt max USB. So the cables that come with it are, in this case, a DC to DC barrel connector, and it looks like this is a 2.5. Let's see, it works on the 8-volt and it works on the 12-volt. So yeah, it's a 2.5 so it's a 5.5 outside and 2.5 inside, so it'll work with either the 8 or the 12-volt. And then this one is specialized for the Blackmagic cinema cameras. And it has the special kind of 2-pin locking cable at this end, and then on this side over here it has the DC output. And that one can plug into the 12-volt or the 8-volt, so you have to make sure you're plugging into the right one. Now this guy is not a battery, it's just an adapter plate, and you have to provide your own Sony style NP-F battery, and so that guy just slides in here and then clicks in place and it locks in place there. So right here there are 2 green lights, which probably indicates that my battery is partially charged. Alright, plugging into the USB-A port, it's generating 4.975 volts. If I turn on the load here, let's see, right now it's providing 4.99 volts and it's a 1 amp load. We'll tune this guy up a bit. Alright, so it is easily able to provide 3 amps here. So it's 5.0 volts at 3 amps, it's doing 15 watts. It says it'll go up to 18 watts. I think that might be with the quick charge. When it negotiates a 9-volt level at 3 amps, it'll do 18 watts of power. So now we basically have still 2 green lights and 1 red light there. I'm going to leave that guy running, and I'm going to plug into the 8-volt output here and just take a voltage reading on that. So I'm getting 7.31 volts on that 8-volt output. Flipping over to the 12-volt output, I'm getting 12.3 volts on the 12-volt output. Let me go back to the 8-volt output, because that was a little lower than 8 volts. Yeah, it's 7.3 volts. So that 8-volt output, the regulation isn't super great. Now I am drawing a decent number of watts out of the USB port, so I'm going to take this off the USB port. You might notice we're down to 1 battery dot. Take this out, the voltage jumps up, so we have 2 battery dots. And I'm going to check that 8-volt output. So it's drawn up a little bit, it's 7.4 volts, but it looks like the 8-volt output is just a little below 8 volts. And we do have a second 8-volt output on the other side. I think that's simply so you have a choice of which side you're pulling that out of. It's 7.4. It looks like it's to the same voltage source. But it does look like you can get power from the 8-volt output and the USB port at the same time, or the 12-volt output and the USB source at the same time. I'm pretty sure you can also get things out of the 12-volt and the 8-volt at the same time. Now they include this little card for support, but they do not include any documentation. So there's 4 lights here, 2 of them are green, one's blank, one's red. I don't know what those mean. If I had to guess, I would say 3 lights are the battery level, and the red light means, hey, I'm operating. If you drop the battery out of it, obviously all the lights turn off. So this thing claims to support Quick Charge version 2 and 3, and I have a Quick Charge requiring device here that wants to negotiate to the 9-volt level. And the problem is that it doesn't seem to do it. So it's basically at 4.9 volts here. Now nothing's on it yet. When I put a charger on, it'll charge at the 4-volt level, but it does not seem to be powering it, and it's not jumping up to the 9-volt level. So I don't think you can count on any voltage higher than 5 volts out of this guy, or in this case 4.7 volts out of this guy. So in this case, it tried to negotiate the 9-volt level. This guy's only giving 7.2 volts. So it attempted to do quick charge, but it's not working. And so when this guy goes on, it's not even charging at all. You're getting the red flashing lights. So you may get 5 volts, you may get non-standard, not quite 9 volts. I would say treat this as a USB-A outlet that can do 3 amps at 5 volts, and you'll be happy. If you expect it to do anything fancier than that, you might be disappointed. So even without my meter attached, it starts blinking red. It's having that same problem with the 7 volts. All right, I have 3 different brands of NP-F compatible batteries, and we're going to try them all here. All right, so that one seemed to click a little better. Yeah, that one is reasonably well connected there. So that one clicked in nicely. That one also clicked in nicely, so that worked just fine. So I guess this off-brand battery just isn't quite in tolerances for the connection points here, because that's the one that's not working. So it appears that this guy does have a positive clicking lock with the majority of my non-OEM NP-F style batteries. So if you have official OEM batteries, I'm going to assume it works. If you have off-brand batteries, you'll have to check that and make sure that it can do a good connection to them, because some of these batteries are coming out of it a little bit. But I think that's a problem more with the battery than this guy. All right, so this battery locks in well, has a full charge. We're going to retry the USB-C quick charge setup here. It says welcome, and it's 8.1 volts. And we're getting the flashing red because it's not able to get up to the 9-volt level, and it's not charging. So it doesn't look like the physical connection of the battery magically fixed that. A different battery didn't fix it. It's still not quite able to do that 9-volt level that's being requested here. I'll plug that in again. So it's at 5 volts. It tried to negotiate to 9, but it's only providing 8 volts. This guy's flashing, it's not working. I'm going to unplug this end, plug this one back in again. Same problem. We'll try it without the meter in the line. So there we have green, and it's still flashing red. So yeah, you really can't rely on anything above 5 volts out of that USB port. Now that being said, it has provided 3 amps at 5 volts pretty well. So it does work well at 5 volts. I'm drawing 3.7 amps at 5 volts, and it's providing 19 watts. So it can provide a solid 5 volts. So with a fully charged battery, we get 3 green lights. The red lights just always are when it's in operation. All right, so this guy provides two 8-volt outputs. My understanding is it's limited to 3 amps total for both of them. One 12-volt outlet, also a 3 amp limit, and a USB port, which I'm going to say can do 5 volts at 3+ amps, but may not work appropriately at 9 or 12 volts or any of the quick charge 2 or 3 levels. So it has a couple different mounting options. You can do a 1/4x20 thread into a hole, or you can have a stud that connects into the bottom here. And with most NP-F batteries, this little lock does lock things in pretty positively, although I did find one generic battery that wasn't quite to the right tolerances and kind of would pop out really easily. So I think the big benefit of this guy is if you have the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera, you know, it comes with the cable for that camera, has that little pull to release housing on the cable, and so it's really designed for that. Anything else you get, you know, 5-volt USB, 8 volts for lighting or monitors is kind of, you know, bonus. Now obviously the battery capacity is really going to depend on what battery you plug into it.